scoreboard here, but we'd ask that maybe you refrain or rephrase your question or ask something totally different. Okay, everybody ready? It's exciting. Here we go.
Kind of like the lottery, isn't it?
Okay, the first one is Gregory Ball from Liverpool, and the second question will come from Joe O'Connor. Okay, so Gregory, if you'd like to come up, are you on that side?
No, the first one, my name is George.
Oh, I'm sorry, George.
No problem. Would the Congress lady please address my first question, the
Would you
Palestinian
like me to
question?
read it?
I need you to read it.
George, you're only going to get one question. Is there a preference? Is there more than one question on here?
The Palestinian question, please, sir.
Okay. Question is, you say that the Palestinians are ruining the peace talks with Israel by having preconditions for negotiations. However, in light of Israel's new announcement to build apartments in East Jerusalem, why do you support Israel so much? Aren't they just as guilty of undermining the process? Is that a sufficient question?
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, George, for your question. I think that, and as many of you know, the President, in part of his speech to the UN, was that if Palestine insisted on going to the General Assembly and asking to be recognized as a state, that the United States would withdraw the $500 million that we give to Palestine for their peacekeeping efforts and for their attempts to achieve peace. So this is a bipartisan support. The feeling is that Palestine, first of all, when you go to the UN, you have to be recognized as a state, you have to acknowledge what your borders are going to be. Palestine is two pieces. It's the West Bank and it's Gaza. And they're governed by two governments. So it's a problem. I think that Palestine deserves to have a state. I think that they should be peaceful. I think that Israel deserves to have a state, a secure state. But until they sit down at a table together, they're not going to get that. And unfortunately, Palestine going to the UN doesn't further that effort at all. And that's part of the problem. I do think that Israel is the only reliable democracy in the Middle East, and that we need to be a good ally to them. That's just the reality of the situation, that they are good friends of ours, and we need them as much as they need us. And Palestine and Hamas have not been good friends to us. They want to see Israel taken off the face of the earth, for one thing, but they've not been good friends to us either. Thank you.
So do you also go along with President or Secretary of State?
Okay, the next on deck will be Andy Schuster of the town of Onondaga, but now we have Joe O'Connor. Joe, do you want to come up, or would you like me to read the question? Okay, Joe from the town of Onondaga. We all benefit from a controlled border. Why are people from outside of New York 25 allowed to participate? I assume in the town hall meeting tonight?
I guess the answer would be because this is America. And we, it's good to have everybody here. It's nice to know that, I don't know if Tom's here tonight, I didn't see him. But Tom travels from Fulton every one of the town hall meetings, but I don't know if he's here tonight. And I think it's important for people to have their voices be heard. It's when we do these town halls, and our goal is to have a town hall in every town. It's nice to give the folks who live there at least the preference, because it's the purpose of the town hall is to give, for instance, the town of Onondaga a chance to be heard. But that's what's great about America.
Okay. On deck, this is shaking up pretty good. On deck will be Douglas Daniel, and we'll go back to Andy Schuster's question. Andy, do you want to come up, or do you want me to read it for you? Andy? No, Andy? Do we have to be present to win, Congressman? Let's see if it's an easy question. Oh, Andy is here? Oh, okay, Andy, come on up, Andy. Would you like to read it yourself?
Actually, it's I was wondering what your positions are regarding how you value the middle class versus the wealthy, whether or not you think they're as important as the wealthy.
I don't think it's a question of wealthy, middle class, or the poor. Everyone is important. Everyone deserves to have opportunities. Everyone deserves to have a chance at the American dream. Everyone deserves to have opportunity. And I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I don't think we should be looking at people by how much they earn. I think we should be looking at them by the fact that they're people and they're Americans.
Okay, on deck. Emmy Wood of Syracuse from Westvale on deck. And now we have Doug Daniel.
Congresswoman, are there any current proposed changes to the Social Security system?
Thanks for asking that, Doug, because I have been very concerned about all of the stuff that's swirling out there, and I will publicly say I blame AARP for a lot of it. There are no changes, there are no proposed changes to Social Security. There's nothing that is out there was nothing in the Republican budget proposal. There is no suggestion that Social Security will change. I want to go on record here to say that Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme. I want to go on record to say that I don't have any interest in changing Social Security for people who are receiving Social Security or back to, and if the age is 55, as Ryan picked it for Medicare, so be it, but we would have to decide on that age, on whatever age it would be. But people within 10 years and on Social Security should remain intact. That is a contract we have with our seniors. Having said that, for those who are younger and who may not really retire for decades, I think we've got to be realistic and to put our head in the sand and to say everything's okay is not the way to go. It's not responsible. When Social Security was founded, there were 16 workers for every one recipient of Social Security. Now there's 3 workers for every recipient of Social Security. Soon there will be 2 workers for Social Security. So I don't think I have to say anything more than that. The system can't continue. And you know, these in the 20th century, our country and the vision for this country, and the vision should always be prosperity and compassion. Access to the American dream, and always a safety net for those who truly need help. So when they instituted Social Security, the intention was good. It was a well-intentioned program. But the problem is when it was put together, it was never planned. It was never, no thought was ever given to what were we going to do down the road when Social Security, when the number of recipients changed, when things changed. How are we going to sustain that program? And that's why we find ourselves the place we are today, whether it's Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, well-intentioned programs. I don't want to demagogue those programs, well-intentioned. But no thought was given to what we're going to do to them down the road. And that's where we are right now. What are we going to do to preserve those systems? Because, you know, and I say this, my mother's 90. She's on Social Security. I know what that check means to her. I know that my father, throughout his life while he was alive, took less than his Social Security check. So when he died, she got more. I understand the importance of Social Security. No one is saying that we're going to change or touch Social Security for the folks who are on it or are going back to a much earlier age. But the reality of the situation is Social Security needs to be looked at for earlier generations. Thank you.
Okay, next one that'll be on deck. Richard Zemansky from Liverpool will be the next question. And right now we have Emmy Wood from Syracuse Westvale.
Ms. Buerkle, thank you so much for the email message that we get frequently updating us. You mentioned about the continuing resolution and, about the TRAIN Act, I'm sorry. And that's called the Transparency and Regulatory Analysis of Impacts on the Nation. As someone who was downwind of Solvay, and in a state that is downwind from the Midwest and their air pollutants, I'm very concerned that this bill looks at emasculating the EPA by putting a